Hey everyone, my name's Kitty Jones. I'm an organizer with DXC here in the SF Bay Area. Right now, as you can see, we're in front of the Golden Gate Field horse racing track. And we're out here protesting because 3 horses have died this week. We did an action this Saturday in a 5K run. And literally since our protest, 3 more horses have been killed. A horse was killed on Sunday. 2 more horses were killed on Monday. And I'm just going to show you what's going on here at the action. Almira's doing an interview. We got some press.
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Animals fear pain!
Just like us!
Horses want to leave!
Just like
On the tombstones, we have the names of horses that have been killed. And just insult to injury is these disrespectful names that they give these sensitive individuals.
Just like us!
These names are so ridiculous that it's embarrassing to the lives of the horses. And it just goes to show how in this industry they're just objects to be used, to be sold, to be exploited. There's so much more than just beings to be used to racing. There's so much more than these ridiculous names. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with the horse racing industry, we're not only protesting because these horses were killed, we're also protesting because it's fundamentally wrong to use and exploit other beings. It's wrong no matter if you're gambling, making money, if it's for entertainment. Nobody on this planet is born for other people to use them. And our selfishness, our pleasure, our entertainment, our money, profit, gambling, none of that justifies using someone and depriving them of freedom, depriving them of happiness and a happy life. Horses in their natural habitat would run tens, if not hundreds of miles a day. They would have families, they have social interactions. They deserve to live free just like all of us do. But in the racing industry, they're forced to be in these small stalls up to 23 hours a day. They're only taken out when it's time for them to be forced to race to the death. On average, every 2 weeks, a horse dies here at Golden Gate Fields. And nationally, about 24 horses die every single week in horse racing tracks in the country. And there's just no excuse for it. It's disgusting and it's awful. As we've mentioned many, many times, this facility is giant. It's huge. And we could use this Golden Gate Fields property for so many other wonderful purposes to make the world a better place. We don't need to occupy all this land to hurt animals, to deprive them of happiness and freedom. We could use this land to provide housing for people who are struggling with homelessness. There used to be a lot of people living around the freeway here. They were all evicted by the city, which is cruel and unnecessary. And instead of evicting people and pushing them around with nowhere to go, we could use this property to build housing for them. Just imagine all the possibilities. We need to imagine a better world because that's the only way that we're going to create it. And we also need to speak up when there's violence and oppression going on, not just against animals, but against anybody. Our society is so cruel and we have to do something.
Golden Gate Field is exploiting workers, horses, and abusing the land here in Berkeley and Albany. It is so upsetting that in a progressive or so-called progressive city like Berkeley and Albany, there is a shameful place like Golden Gate Fields, where horses are confined 23 hours a day in stables right behind me that constitutes a factory farm. There's literally a factory farm here in Berkeley. And then for 1 hour a day, they're forced to run or train or race against their will, often leading to injury or sudden death. On average, last year, every 2 weeks, a horse was killed at Golden Gate Fields. And oftentimes, these deaths, they're listed as accidents. But it is not an accident when they are directly and intentionally forcing these horses to run. They know that this can happen, and yet they continue to do it, and that is not an accident. And this year, the death toll was a little bit lower so far. And while there's no way to do this humanely, there was a little bit of a silver lining that at least fewer horses were dying. last 72 hours, 3 horses have died here at Golden Gate Fields. 1 of them on Sunday and 2 of them on Monday. On this long weekend where so many people were out having fun, these horses were literally being raced to their death. One of these horses broke their leg during the race. And on the website it just said that they were vanned off. And then a couple days or 1 day later it just lists them as dead. So I wonder if basically they realized that because the horse couldn't run anymore because they'd broken their leg, maybe they just weren't worth it to spend the money to care for them or give them veterinary care, and so they probably just shot them in the head or somehow killed them. These horses' names were My Panache, Desert Fog, and Hong Kong Cowboy. And those are some of the most ridiculous names as well. It is just so absurd what this industry does to them, and treat them like objects and name them like prizes, and then race them to their death and kill them when they're no longer making them money. But here on Saturday, right before these horses were killed while they were racing, over 100 people showed up to consensually race and raise awareness about what is happening at Golden Gate Fields. These are residents of Berkeley and Albany who care about these horses, who care about these workers, who want something better to be done with this land behind me. And more people are speaking up because nobody that I meet walking around in Berkeley or doing the race yesterday thought that Golden Gate Fields is a good place. A lot of people care about the horses. A lot of people care about the workers. There was the largest COVID outbreak here in the housing for the workers here in Berkeley because they're forced to live in such close confinement, often without care for themselves either. In fact, Golden Gate Fields has their own ambulance, probably because of so many accidents that happen to the workers. And a lot of people also care about this land when there's our community members living under bridges here without a place to live, without the ability to pay rent in this absurdly expensive city. And then there's all this land behind us that could be housing, and yet it's just stables for horses who don't want to be there and are forced to run. This entire place is shameful, and we're tired of it. And we are demanding that Berkeley and Albany do more to help us shut this place down. Because it's not entertainment.
It's violence.
It's not entertainment.
It's violence.
It's not entertainment.
It's violence.
Horses want to live.
Just like us.
Horses want to be free.
Just like us.
Horses love their families.
Just like us.
Horses want to live.
Just like us.
Horses deserve respect.
Just like us.
Shut down.
Golden Gate Fields.
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 It's
It's violence.
not family fun.
It's violence.
Thank you all so much for tuning in, for commenting. Please share. Just for anyone that is just joining, we're out here because we are protesting here on Saturday, and just since Saturday, already 3 more horses have been killed. Horses that were born into misery, suffering, and exploitation, and who died in it. Their lives were taken for no excuse, no justification. Just imagine if you were born into this industry, if you were forced to race your entire life. A lot of these horses are only about 2 years old when they start being forced to fight or to run. And they suffer from horrible injuries. Their bodies aren't even finished developing and forming. A lot of them are given all kinds of drugs to cover up the pain of their industries. There's just no excuse for it. It's really disgusting. If dog fighting is wrong, if cockfighting is wrong, if greyhound racing is wrong, then it's wrong to race horses too. It's wrong to use any animal for any exploitative purpose, or any human for that matter either. There's so many things that we could do to entertain ourselves, and there's no justification this day and age to be using animals for such selfish purposes.
These horses, just from the time that they're born, they're ripped away from their mothers when they're just babies. And so from the very beginning, they're torn from their families, and obviously that causes them suffering, because horses, like any mammal, they're social creatures, and they're raised by their mothers, and they want to feel that love and that affection. And they suffer when they are ripped from their mothers. And then right after that, they are forced to they're grinded so that they can be as fast as possible. Without their consent, they're just raced all the time. It puts so much stress on their bones and their bodies, and it causes them a lot of pain because it's just not natural for them to be raced at these speeds. And so they're in all this like stress and pain in their bodies, and to try and mask that pain, what they do here in this industry is they drug them. They drug them so they're still able to race regardless of all that pain they're feeling. And that just, it just like prolongs the problem, because when they feel pain, they're supposed to rest, right? Because they're not resting, they keep racing, and eventually it leads to these severe injuries. And it's so horrible for them. I can't imagine what that's like. And then the whole day, most of the day, you're in a stall. You're in a stable that's barely bigger than your own body. What must that feel like for one of your most very basic urges to move around? You can't even move around for the majority of every single day of your life. That must be so awful. And it's just a horrible system. Like any industry that uses animals for entertainment or for food or for clothing, the incentive is always profit. And the profit always comes at the expense of the animal's welfare. These horses, they're sentient living beings, and like us, they suffer, and like us, they want to live. But we have denied them their very basic interests in life and freedom just for something so trivial as seeing them run around in circles on a track. And it's just not worth it, because when we truly consider the perspective of these horses, I think it becomes quite evident that what we're doing is absolutely atrocious and unjustifiable in every way. And that's why it's not entertainment!
It's violence!
It's not entertainment!
It's violence!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Horses feel pain!
Just like us!
Horses can suffer!
Just like us!
Horses feel happiness!
Just like us!
Horses have families!
Just like us!
Horses want to live!
Just like us!
Horses want to live!
Just like us!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
Shut down!
Golden Gate Fields!
To everyone that insisted we move the camera, it wasn't a gimbal and there was no way to rotate it, so I just took it out. So, your cries have been heard. Now Ace is gonna do a speak out. Thank you all so much for commenting and watching. Please share and support all of our work. Join the movement for animal liberation. We're out here protesting in front of the Golden Gate Field horse racing track in Albany and Berkeley, California.
If you care about animals, perhaps you shouldn't be going to the races. While some people may think horse races are just family fun or betting money, it is actually violence and cruelty. You might lose your money betting on these horses, but they lose their lives. Horse racing is not a sport, it is an industry. The horses are viewed as nothing more than commodities in this industry that profits from them. Horses are abused by trainers to make them run as fast as possible, often threatened by whips and electric shocking devices. Horses are subjected to drug cocktails that mask their injuries and artificially enhance their performance. An average of 24 horses a week experience fatal breakdowns at racetracks across the country. Can you imagine being forced to sprint in the dry California heat? 3 horses died at Golden Gate Fields this weekend. Their names were My Panache, Desert Fog, and Hong Kong Cowboy. That doesn't even count the horses that were secretly transported to be slaughtered. That doesn't count the horses that died because of training. There is no retirement plan for these overworked horses. Instead, they experience a life of abuse and are rewarded with a bullet to the head when they can no longer produce money for humans. It is cruel, barbaric, and outdated. Jockeys have a retirement plan. Trainers have a retirement plan. The racehorse gets a bullet to the head. They say they love their horses, and then they send them to their death. They abuse their horses to death, and then they buy another one. They breed them, they train them, they race them, and then they send them to their slaughter. The next time you see a racehorse, it might be the pet food aisle of your local supermarket. This is the racing industry's recycling program. It's all about the money, it's all about the glory, and it's all about the fame. Golden Gate Fields does not care about their horses. It's not a sport.
It's violence.
It's not family fun.
It's violence.
It's not entertainment.
It's violence.
It is not a sport.
It's violence.
It is not family fun.
It's violence.
It's not entertainment.
It's violence.
It's their bodies,
Not ours.
their legs,
Not ours.
their spine.
Again, thank you all so much for joining. I'm Kitty. I'm an organizer with DXC here in the SF Bay area. We're protesting outside of Golden Gate Fields horse racing track. On average, every 2 weeks a horse is killed here. And even those that aren't killed live a miserable, awful life, a miserable existence. They spend almost their entire lives in these stalls. They're mentally, emotionally, and spiritually broken just to be used by humans so people can gamble on their lives. It's despicable and it's cruel and there's no excuse for it. And we want Golden Gate Fields and all horse racing tracks to shut down. We want an end of all cruelty and abuse to non-human animals and humans as well. We know that we can create a better world, and all the people leaving hurtful and awful comments, making fun of the suffering of animals and making fun of us, thank you for not just boosting our engagement and also for reminding everyone else why we need to do this work. Your hateful comments just express how profoundly speciesist and cruel this world is. We live in a society that is deeply, deeply sexist, homophobic, ableist, transphobic, racist, and speciesist. There's so many problems, and we're here to speak up when we see them. So when you see violence against animals, when you see discrimination, you need to speak up too. We're out here protesting. We want Golden Gate Fields to shut down. We literally had a 5K just this Saturday. Already 3 more horses have been killed since then. It just couldn't be more obvious how cruel and despicable this place is. They do not care about the lives of the animals. They do not care about their well-being. And it's just disgusting that they have these talking points about how they're treated so well when clearly they're not. They're literally being shot. And so much money and so much space goes into this industry, into Golden Gate Fields alone. This space that, as we've mentioned many times, could be used for so many other purposes. We could have a beautiful animal sanctuary here. We could have housing for people who are struggling with housing here. We could do so many things. And who knows how many billions of dollars are wasted gambling on animals' lives. That's disgusting. All that money could be used to funding healthcare, to funding education, to funding things that actually make the world a better place, that actually benefit the world. And we have nothing against the workers here. We have nothing against the people who are caught up in the system of violence and abuse. It's not their fault. It's a systemic problem. The people who run these facilities should know better. There's so many other ways to entertain ourselves. There's so many other ways to make money. There's so many other businesses that we could have. There's really no justification to continue doing this. And I hope that we have so many people driving by today, so many people cheering us on. I hope that nobody comes here to support this industry. It's a very specific niche. Clearly the only people who have fun here and are making money here are wealthier white men for the most part. It's owned by a billionaire, and there's just no excuse. And For anyone who's unfamiliar with how horse racing works, a lot of these horses begin being forced to race when they're only about 2 years old. They're not even completely muscularly and skeletally developed. A lot of them have injuries as a result. They stand in these stalls deprived of socialization, deprived of friendship, community, love, deprived of being able to be free and run and happy. They just sit in these stalls for up to 23 hours a day. They come out just to be forced to run, so a bunch of people can just laugh and make money, and it's disgusting. Just the way you would be horrified if this was a dog racing or a dog fighting facility or a greyhound racing place or cockfighting. I live in a very rough neighborhood where there is dog fighting going on, and people are horrified. People supposedly want to do something and they shut it down and it's illegal. Then how is this legal? If the issue is that animals are being forced to die and killed, why would it matter if it's a dog or a horse? It's disgusting and it needs to stop. And we're out here, we have gravestones with the names of all kinds of horses who have been killed. You can see their names and when they died. And just as I mentioned, insult to injury is these ridiculous names that they give these horses just to highlight that they really are objects in the eyes of the industry. The people who run this facility and other horse racing tracks and facilities who exploit animals, they don't care about the world. They don't care about the animals. Sure.
Just like us.
And our pleasure, our profit, our gambling, tradition, culture, none of that excuses or justifies violence and suffering. Whether it's humans, animals, cats, dogs, whatever the species is, just because someone's born in a body that's different, maybe speaks a language that we don't understand, it does not justify exploiting anybody or hurting them or using them for any motivation, any profit.
There's nothing as violent, as senseless and cruel. Or there are many things in the animal industry, but it is one of the most cruel and savage, outright savage sports and pursuits of pleasure that human oppression has cast upon the world. Animals are run to their death. For what? Just for some family to gather, for some rich people to bet on creatures that have no choice in the matter. There's glory and fame, but what is the glory and fame for? Not the creatures who have no choice in what they want to do, no choice in the pleasure that they want to pursue. It is just people watching animals suffer and die and cry and collapse. For what? Just for entertainment.
Speak out aside from what I've already repeated.
It's all good.
Ask yourself, does our pleasure justify violence? Of course it doesn't. So in what world is it okay to deprive someone of their freedom, of their family, of their life, of everything that they're born entitled to, and force them to stand around all day in a small stall? Who do we think we are? These horses are beautiful, intelligent, sensitive creatures. And even if they weren't intelligent, even if we didn't consider them beautiful, they deserve love and freedom and happiness just like every single one of us do. Gambling on someone's life is despicable. It's disgusting. It's heinous. And it's unbelievable to me that Berkeley and Albany are allowing this to happen. And supposedly one of the most progressive cities in the world, people would be horrified if these were golden retrievers that were being killed, shot in the head. It would be unthinkable if they were humans. Then why is it okay to do this to horses? We are so deeply indoctrinated into the speciesist ideology and many other discriminatory ideologies. It doesn't stop at speciesism. And we just literally can't even comprehend the fact that these animals are born to live their own lives. People make fun of us. They say horrible, horrible things about animals, not to mention all the horrible things they actually do to animals. And it's just shocking that people can't even imagine allowing them to live, allowing them to exist. Cows are not here for us to drink their milk. Chickens are use them. These horses are not here for us to gamble on their lives and to force them to run. It's disgusting. I really hope that we can shut down this facility, that we can actually dream up and create a better world. We can use this massive chunk of land to start a sanctuary, to provide housing for the unhoused and people who are struggling. There's so many problems with our society, and there's so many opportunities to fix it. I don't know why we refuse to try. There's billions of dollars that are being wasted in these races, billions of dollars that could be used to address social problems, housing, education, medication. There's so many things we can do. So we need to stop lying to ourselves. We need to stop ignoring this heinous violence. So many people participate in Golden Gate Fields. So many people drive by it and walk by it and don't even think anything. But we need to speak up when there's violence happening against animals, against humans, against anyone, or the species of racism, homophobia, sexism, any kind of discrimination or violence. We need to speak up. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. And that's unacceptable. And it might be hard for the people who participate in these races because they're not the ones experiencing the oppression. But that doesn't mean it's okay. We need to speak up whether or not we're the victim of the oppression.
So for folks who are just joining now, we are here outside Golden Gate Fields, and over 100 of us were here just on Saturday running a consensual 5K, a race to raise awareness about what happens to horses at Golden Gate Fields, and also just to show the difference between consensual running and what is happening to these horses. And since that race, since Saturday, 3 horses already have died here at Golden Gate Fields, 1 on Sunday and 2 on Monday, and that's why we're here doing an emergency protest again. And I'm going to just show you the tombstones of all of the individuals who have died just this year at Golden Gate Fields in Berkeley and Albany. So we have Honeydew, who was killed on May 20th, just this weekend. Desert Fog killed, actually Honeydew was last week. Desert Fog killed just this weekend on May 30th. Better Tomorrow killed on January 7th, 2022. My Panache also killed this weekend on May 29th, 2022. Mugaritz also killed in January, on January 16th. Hong Kong Cowboy killed on Monday, on May 30th. And Hai Q killed January 5th, 2022.
Just like us.
All animals feel love.
Just like us.
That was Kitty giving a really powerful speak out and also leading some chants. And it's really amazing because we just planned this yesterday and now all these people are out.
An outrage, it's not just a tragedy, it's a crime. It is illegal. Under California Penal Code Section 597A and 597B, one cannot either negligently or intentionally kill an animal. And there's an argument that both are true here. This is not just a case of horses dying negligently. This is part of the business model. It's intentional that horses are raised up to the very limits of their health and their ability. That's intentional. And even if it's just negligent, even if Golden Gate Fields is just allowing horses to die through negligence, that's a crime. That's a felony as well. So Golden Gate Fields is a criminal organization, and we need to be very clear that that's what it is. It's a criminal organization, and I call on District Attorney O'Malley, I call upon Attorney General Bonta to prosecute Golden Gate Fields for criminal animal cruelty and to shut it down. It needs to be shut down. These crimes have gone on for far too long, and it's time that our public institutions intervene to protect these horses. And I also want to be clear that I do not believe in the prison industrial complex. I don't think that we should be incarcerating our way out of social problems, but I do believe that we need to hold people accountable to the laws of the state of California that are designed to protect the very most vulnerable beings. And horses can't send people to the legislature to advocate on their behalf. They can't have people represent them in court. So it's even more important that for the weak laws that do exist that protect animals, that they need to be enforced. That's the very least that we as a society can do. And so there needs to be accountability. The Stronach group, they should be extradited and should face justice here in the courts in California for the criminal animal cruelty that they're doing. I don't believe anyone should go to prison, but there needs to be a corporate prosecution to shut this fucking place down forever.
I wasn't planning to do a speak out today, but I was inspired by so many other wonderful speakers, and as I was standing there holding that tombstone, one of the people who work at this facility drove past, looked at us, and very kindly flipped us off. And I told my friend about it, and she said, why would somebody do something like that? I mean, we're out here because we care. Why would anybody say something mean or do something so horrible when we're just out here trying to make a difference? And I thought about it, and I kind of want to address this point, because I think that oftentimes we forget about the indoctrination that happens, not just at this industry, but so many others. I myself worked at a laboratory, and you get in a certain mindset. You have to put yourself into a certain mindset to allow yourself to abuse these animals. And it's really hard as human beings for us to admit when we are doing something so cruel and abusive and exploitative to animals that you think you love. These people inside this facility actually think that they love these animals, and to some extent that might be true. They care for them, they feed them, they groom them, they take them out, and so they get a bond with them. But make no mistake, that bond cannot be real. You cannot love an animal while you are also party to their death. You simply cannot. And as hard as it is for us as human beings to admit when we are doing something horrible, we have to start looking inside of ourselves. We have to be okay with admitting when things are wrong, whether it's here, in our governmental institutions, in our homes. We have to start speaking out against this. We have to look inside, be okay with the fact that we have done things that are not okay, because we can change it. You can change. You can make a difference. You can say, yes, I have done this, but I am not going to be party to it anymore. I'm going to stand up against it. Together, we can help them. If anybody who is working in any of these facilities feels like they want to get out, please contact us. We will help you. We want to make sure that people are safe and that the animals are well cared for. Please speak up, speak out. Know that people will help you, that there is a way to make a difference, because this cannot sustain itself. As a society, we cannot continue. We cannot continue with this cruelty. It must end, and it must end soon, because this is not entertainment.
It's violence!
It is not entertainment.
Thank you so much to everyone that's joining, that's shared, that's commented. I mean, you've heard some amazing speak outs, and I just want to say that I know someday we're going to look back at this horrific industry, not only this industry, but many, many other industries as well, and be horrified at the things that we used to do to our fellow animals on this planet and our fellow human beings. And just think about, like, which side do you want to be on? The side of cruelty and violence and killing and death? Or you want to be on the side of compassion and actually making the world a better place for everyone? You know, when we stop torturing animals, that also helps humans too as well. People who are doing these things to animals experience a lot of trauma. That's not good for anybody.
Horses love their babies.
And I also want to say there's a lot of people leaving some cruel comments, just kind of expressing that they don't feel any compassion towards animals and all kinds of other ridiculous things. And I just want to point out that people who are cruel to animals, people who have apathy towards animals, have apathy towards humans as well. So I don't know where your circle of compassion ends, if you care about beagles, or if you care about poodles, or if you care about cats. If not cows and chickens, maybe other humans, I would hope. But across the board, people who hurt other animals, we've been having some really horrific shootings happening in the United States, white supremacist attacks in the United States. I hope maybe you might care about those things, and also want to point out that the people who commit these heinous crimes of violence and white supremacy also often torture and kill animals. So it's very much connected, you know. Compassion towards animals is compassion towards humans as well. And if you're going to be out here defending the mass killing and torture of animals, just want to point out you probably don't care a whole lot about humans either, and that's really sad. And I hope that you develop some level of compassion for somebody. You know, we can do so much better. There's no excuse to be treating animals this way and to be mocking their lives and torturing them.
Just like us.
They get scared.
Just like us.
They want to live.
So for anyone that's just joining, there's about 30 of us out here in front of Golden Gate Fields. We have tombstones that we've created with the names of the horses that have died recently. On average, 24 horses die every single week at horse racing tracks in the United States. Imagine if those were dogs. Imagine if those were another species. Would people care then? And if it's wrong to do dog fighting, if it's wrong to do cockfighting, if it's wrong to race greyhounds, then it's wrong to race horses too. About every 2 weeks, a horse dies right here at Golden Gate Fields, right in the center of Albany and Berkeley. There's no excuse for it. There's no justification. This massive facility literally is dedicated to profit in animal cruelty and abuse. Possibly worker abuse too. I don't know. Wouldn't put it past them.
Profits no excuse.
For animal
And
abuse.
just this Saturday, we actually had a 5K run where us humans did a run consensually because we wanted to run, whereas the horses do not run consensually, they're forced to. And literally, since our action, already 3 horses have been killed. 1 was killed on Sunday, 2 were killed on Monday. And not only is their death cruel and unnecessary, but their entire life was so incredibly cruel. They were born into a system of oppression and cruelty. They were deprived of freedom and any sense of a natural life that they would otherwise have. And then that same system of violence and cruelty took their life as well. And it's just despicable. It's so sad. My heart really goes out to these horses, and I feel so awful for them. I feel so awful for all victims of violence, not just these animals. But we're here today to speak up for them because it's literally right here in our backyard. This massive facility just operating a cruel gambling scheme.
Yeah, this is actually not just about the animals, it's about all oppression. What is common in this animal abuse, the horses or the farm animals, or even the shootings, where right now it's in the news, there is one thing that's common, that is we are not in touch with our core nature, that is compassion. We are somehow, not in touch with it. That is the reason we are able to see anyone's pain and be okay with it. So it's not about just animals, it's, as we say, it's the human freedom, animal rights, they go together. It's about our compassion, and that's our true nature. So it's time to actually look into ourselves and be in touch with compassion and fight for any kind of oppression and injustice.
So well said. We need to connect with our true nature, which is compassion. And Golden Gate Fields and other industries of violence and exploitation go against everything that is us. And if we could live lives without causing harm and live a compassionate lifestyle, why wouldn't we, We got another speak out coming.
there is a reason why we also vie for human rights and human liberation. What is more imprisoning on the mind than seeing things or creatures not as reality, but as toys that can spin around a track and collapse at some point, or spinning tops that can collapse at some point just to disregard after. Not actually as beings. We don't see them as beings. We see them as toys that can go on and on and on until they collapse, and we don't care about them after. Human liberation is seeing reality as it is too, as seeing non-humans as being equal to us, as ridding our cognizances of speciesism. That is human liberation. And we need that just as we need non-human liberation. We need to see non-humans as they actually are, not as toys that can collapse at some point or that might break down, because they can feel pain. They can suffer just like us. And that's something that needs to be recognized if we ever wish to truly be free.
Shut down!
When you actually start to think about the complex and sensitive lives of these animals, how sensitive they are, how intelligent they are, how social they are, their suffering and death is just so hard to even comprehend how awful their existence must be. I cannot imagine being in solitary confinement, you know, for 23 hours a day. And there's humans in solitary confinement too, and that's awful, and that's a whole nother issue. But it's just hard to even comprehend how we got to this point where we have these animals, these beautiful beings who are born free just like we are, but deprived of everything that's natural to them. And we disabled them to the point where they can't even fend for themselves. We break them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, keep them in these small pens. 23 hours a day of loneliness and misery without their families. These are social creatures. Can you just imagine for a second what that would feel like? We have all the privileges in the world. Many of us do, right? To be able to go to the store, to go get food, to see our friends and family. Of course, we built a huge system of oppression that oppresses each of us in different ways and makes our own access to freedom and happiness a struggle for different people. But just think about it. Think about what it would be like to be in this small cage for so long, and then when you're about 2 years old, you're forced to run, and then you break your leg, and then you get shot in the head, just so that some random person could like bet on your life. And it's just hard to even understand like how we got here and how this is accepted and how this is quote unquote legal. Of course, legality is not a measure of morality in any sense. And I just hope that someday soon we shut down this facility and we can look back and be horrified that we had facilities like this that operated at all. Horrified that we did these horrible things to one another as human beings. Horrified that we did these things to our fellow animals. We share this world with so many amazing species. Incredible animals that are so complicated and intelligent in ways that we can't even comprehend. And we're out here killing them, torturing them, ripping their fur off, breeding them and selling them. What are we doing? You know, like, who do we think we are? We're animals too. We need to calm down. We need to stop worrying, stop building this huge system of capitalism and profit and literally sacrificing not only other animals, not only one another, but also literally the survival of the entire planet. Look at climate change. This is another expression of our speciesism and selfishness, that we're willing to destroy entire Earth systems, entire ecosystems, and soon enough, our own ability to survive on this planet. It's absurd. What is our end goal here? Just destroy all life, race these horses to death, destroy other living creatures, destroy these ecosystems, destroy water sources, and it's just, what are we doing? Pollute the climate so much that we can't even breathe? So we're out here advocating, of course, for these horses, but against an entire system that's so much bigger than ourselves, so much bigger than these horses. We're out here speaking out against the entire system of speciesism and violence that is sacrificing their lives, that is allowing us to continue in this daze to just destroy and consume. And we're going to wrap up the protest now, and I appreciate all of you for joining us. I appreciate everyone who's been out here speaking out for these beautiful speak outs that touched on animal oppression and human oppression, and why we advocate for liberation for all beings, because they're so deeply interconnected.
Yeah, so hold on to your placards.
And please join the movement for animal liberation. Please stand up and speak out to make the world a better place. We can do so much better. We've already made so much of a difference. If it weren't for activists, not just for this cause, but for any causes, nothing would change in the world. But things change and things get better because we speak out, because we imagine a better world, and because we protest and take action and organize. So thank you all so much, and please share and support and get active.